Have you ever wondered what it's like for a child to grow up in a war zone? We often think of children as the most vulnerable members of society, but in conflict-ridden regions, their vulnerabilities are compounded by fear, instability, and loss. This isn't something we can easily imagine, because most of us live in a world where we feel relatively safe, surrounded by our families, friends, and communities. But for many children around the world, this isn't the reality they wake up to every day. For children who live in war-torn communities, their reality is marked by chaos, uncertainty, and trauma. They grow up with the constant threat of violence, displacement, and the loss of loved ones. Their childhoods are disrupted in ways that are often impossible to fully comprehend unless you've witnessed it firsthand. And while we talk about the physical destruction that war causes, buildings destroyed, roads cracked, homes shattered, the emotional and psychological toll on children is often just as devastating, if not more so. Imagine being a child who has seen a bombing or heard gunfire close by. Imagine being forced to leave your home, your school, and your community, unsure of where you will end up or if you will ever return. Imagine not knowing where your next meal will come from, or if you will be able to sleep without the fear of an attack. For children growing up in conflict zones, this is their day-to-day life. The psychological effects of living in such an environment are profound. Children in these situations face what psychologists refer to as complex trauma, a type of trauma that results from repeated exposure to events that threaten the child's survival and safety. Complex trauma affects their mental health, cognitive development, and emotional well-being. It can lead to anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and even developmental delays. The most disturbing part of all this is that these effects are often felt long after the conflict has ended. When a child is exposed to war, the brain undergoes significant changes. During early childhood, a child's brain is extremely sensitive to environmental influences. So when a child is raised in an environment where violence, fear, and instability are constant, the stress response system becomes overactive. This leads to the brain being wired to constantly be on alert. For these children, hypervigilance becomes a way of life. They are always scanning their environment for danger, even when there is no immediate threat. This heightened state of awareness can lead to anxiety, restlessness, and difficulty concentrating. Think about it. When a child is constantly worried about their safety, how can they possibly focus on their schoolwork, their friendships, or even just having fun? For children in conflict zones, these basic elements of childhood, learning, playing, and bonding, are taken away from them. Instead of engaging in school, they may be struggling with trauma, trying to process the violence they've witnessed, or worrying about whether their family is safe. As they grow older, these children often carry the trauma with them. The fear, sadness, and anxiety that shape their early years do not magically disappear. Children who have witnessed violence or lived through displacement often develop attachment insecurity. In healthy environments, children form bonds with their caregivers that give them a sense of security. But when a child's world is torn apart by war, they often lose this crucial source of emotional stability. This lack of attachment can affect their relationships in profound ways. Children who have experienced the loss of loved ones or have been separated from their families may struggle to trust others. They may push people away or withdraw emotionally because they've learned that people and things they love can be taken away at any moment. As a result, these children may experience loneliness, isolation, and a sense of helplessness, unable to form the supportive relationships that are crucial for their well-being. One of the key emotional challenges faced by children growing up in conflict zones is grief. Grief, for these children, isn't just about the loss of family members or friends. It's the grief of losing their sense of safety, their homes, and their communities. They may grieve the loss of something even more intangible, their childhood. When you grow up in a war zone, childhood is not a time for playing and learning. It's a time of survival. But even amidst all the hardship, children are often incredibly resilient. They are often able to adapt to their circumstances in ways that we might not expect. For example, many children who have lived through war find solace in their creativity. They draw, they sing, they dance, they play games, anything that allows them to express what they're feeling. Art becomes an outlet for their grief and their fears. It's a way for them to process their emotions and make sense of their chaotic worlds. While art therapy is one powerful way of helping children heal, education can also serve as a critical tool for recovery. Even when schools are destroyed or teachers are absent, providing a semblance of education can help restore a sense of normalcy. When children in conflict zones are able to return to school, they not only gain knowledge, they gain structure, routine, and the emotional support that comes from being around peers and caring adults. Schools can be a safe haven, offering not just academic lessons, but also the opportunity for social interaction, emotional growth, and healing. In addition to formal education, community support is equally essential. After a conflict, children often find strength in their communities. When people come together to support one another, they create a network of care that can help children recover. This can come in the form of mental health services, community programs, or even informal support systems where children are given space to talk, share, and heal. These community-based efforts help children feel less isolated and more hopeful about the future. At the same time, it's important to recognize that children who live through conflict need long-term support. Healing doesn't happen overnight. The scars left by war are not easily erased, and recovery is often a slow process. Some children may need years of counseling or therapeutic intervention to cope with their trauma. Others may need help adjusting to post-conflict life, which may still be marked by economic instability or the ongoing psychological burden of living through war. The mental health challenges these children face can have long-term consequences. In some cases, the trauma they experience during childhood can shape their adult lives in profound ways. Studies have shown that children who live through war or conflict are at a greater risk of developing mental health disorders in adulthood, including depression, PTSD, and anxiety. These conditions can affect their ability to work, form relationships, and raise their own children, perpetuating the cycle of trauma. However, there is hope. Despite the overwhelming challenges, children who grow up in conflict zones can overcome the psychological effects of war. Resilience is possible, but it requires support, care, and resources. Mental health interventions, such as therapy, community programs, and trauma-informed care, are critical in helping these children heal. Additionally, fostering hope through education, social connection, and positive role models can give these children the strength to face the future. In conclusion, raising children in conflict zones presents some of the most daunting challenges imaginable. The psychological and emotional toll of war is immense, affecting children's cognitive development, emotional well-being, and ability to form relationships. However, with the right support, these children can heal and grow. The road to recovery is long, but it is possible. And by understanding the challenges they face and providing the resources they need, we can help these children find hope, rebuild their lives, and become resilient, capable individuals who can contribute to a better future for themselves and their communities. Thanks for watching Psychology Hub.